Hey, friends, I want to share another story from the field with you, the field of harvest. You know, sometimes sharing the gospel just doesn't go as well as what we had hoped. And I had a great relationship with a coworker, and we worked well together, and we laughed and we joked. And from time to time, I would try to talk to him about the good news of Jesus Christ, that he lived and bled and died and rose again. But God commended his love for us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. But this man, he never would receive it. He constantly rejected it. The last time that I saw him was at a funeral. And it was a very crowded church. We were standing in the back, and I was standing next to him and glad to see him. But I felt compelled once again to tell him about Jesus Christ and him crucified. And when I began to talk about Jesus, he just erupted in a loud voice and began to curse at me. And he said, "Chad, it's always the same thing with you." And I just said, "Hey, look, I'm sorry if I've offended you. I love you." Within moments, the pastor gets up to start the funeral and begins immediately to share the gospel. And I'll admit, I was somewhat embarrassed. This is a full church and people were looking. But as I drove away from that church that day, from that funeral, the words that he spoke to me rang out. "It's always the same thing with you, Chad." My prayer is that it's always the same thing with me. The Apostle Paul said, "I determined to know nothing among you but Jesus Christ and him crucified." And that's the message that I want to proclaim. And, in Mark 4, Jesus tells of the parable of a sower. He says, "The kingdom of God is like a man who casts his seed upon the soil, and he goes to bed at night, and he wakes up by day, and the seed sprouts and grows. How he does not know. For the soil produces the crop, first the blade, and then the head, and then the mature head. But when the crop permits, he puts in the sickle, for the time has come. The kingdom of God is like a man who casts his seed upon the soil, and he goes to bed." Our responsibility is to sow seed and to rest. And I can rest in the fact that I shared the gospel with this man who sadly eventually committed suicide. And it breaks my heart. But I know that I was faithful to the gospel. And ultimately, God is the judge. And our responsibility is simply to sow the seeds, and he will bring the harvest.